fate worse than death. Today we're going to talk about the terror of death, Scythe. Who is Scythe? What is his wand, or is it a sword? And the censorship from Japan to North America. So those of you who don't know, Dothack has what's known as the Cursed Wave. Now the Cursed Wave is 8 different characters, starting with Scythe, who basically are part of the backbone of the world. Now, the world was created by Harold. Harold made the game called Fragment, not to be confused with the PS2 game Dothack Fragment. This is what he created prior to the acquisition of CC Corporation and the Dothack lore. So when he created Fragment, he based the whole game off of a poem called the Epitaph of Twilight. In the poem, it names these 8 specific characters: Scythe, Innis, Magus, Vitchell, Gore, Maha, Tarvos, and Korbinek. Scythe is the first of the 8 that we meet, and throughout the games you pretty much go in the same order. But believe it or not, Scythe is not the first character that you're introduced to. One of the other 8 you were actually introduced far earlier, but as you saw in that video, this is who we're going to be talking about today, and that is Scythe from the Dothack series. Now this version right here, as you see on screen, this wasn't the final or first design pick. Now, some of you might know that there's also the Scythe from R2, which is the one seen on screen here. This is from Dothack GU. There's also the one from Dothack Link, which is a continuation of the first, and also the one from Versus the World, as you see right here, which is a 2D fighting game, or I'm sorry, 3D fighting game. But let's talk about the origins of Scythe. Now, this is a old Scottish type of language that we're dealing with here, and the word we're using is Scythe, S-C-A-T-H. Scythe means shadow or shade. Now, over in Kilrenny, Scotland, which as you see here on this map, there is a stone left behind on a road. This is known as the Scythe Stone, as you see right here. And if you look, these little, they're called branches, or leaves, or impressions. But if you look closely, it kind of looks like the Scythe that we all know from the Dothack series. If you look at all these little impressions on Scythe's body, kind of looks like those impressions on the stone itself. But like I said, Scythe was not the original design. The original design for Dothack began back in 1999 when they were pitching CyberConnect 2, the game developer, to the publisher Bandai. Now, they pitched 3 different games before the 4th one being Dothack. The 3 different games that came before Dothack, the 3rd one was the first time we saw Scythe. It looks like this, which, if you look closely, really looks very close to the final design. The only difference is instead of humanoid figure, we get a stone monster. Now, this design that you see here, this was designed by WAKA. I don't know who designed the prototype, but it's definitely humanoid. It definitely has a body, obviously. And it has the same staff or wand, whatever you want to call it. Even the pose is nearly identical. But then they decided, for whatever reason, to move away from humanoid-looking characters. And then they decided to do something more like this. This design was pitched by Hiroshi Matsuyama, who was a graphics designer for CyberConnect 2, prior to becoming the CEO of CyberConnect 2. Now, this design certainly looks somewhat even closer to the final design. We got the bull horns, we got the misshaped eyes over his head and over his body. if you really think about it, it kind of looks like they just took Hiroshi's design and they took WAKA's design, and this is how we got the Scythe we know today. Now, Scythe gets its name from the Greek alphabets Chi and the letter Rho, which is X and P, and it is the Christ name in Greek, which is Ch-R, or Christos. Now, if you really think about that, Skeith is very known pretty much to crucify all of its victims. We saw with Sora, and we see with Orca, and at the very beginning of the Dothack Infection video games. And so that's what I want to talk about next. That is Scythe's wand. Scythe's wand, as you may know, has been kind of what's the word I want to say? Hasn't been consistent across all Dothack media. Let's just go with that. Here we have all these promotional artworks for Dothack Another Birth, and the designs here you see all have the original cross. But I want to tell you that it wasn't the same in both countries. Canon unit in the US, it was a cross, and then it got censored into a Q shape instead of the religious icon of the Holy Cross. Now, this was common practice, I would say, in the 90s and 80s when it came to video games. When you had religious representation, they kind of swapped it out for something else. It's very common with early Nintendo games, I believe even some Sega games. But I guess they kept that tradition here when they localized the Dothack games from Japan to North America. Now, I don't know whose decision that came from, whether it was Bandai of Japan or Bandai of America. But if you notice, the design and animation also changes. In Japan, Scythe has a green glow over his body, but in the US, that green glow is not present. I'm not sure why that was taken out, but I can understand why the cross was. Now, when we see Scythe use his wand, he swings it around pretty much like Orca, like a sword. And most people always associated Scythe's wand as a wand, or staff, or a rod, simply because we usually see him throw it out and crucify someone upon it, but it's actually a sword, and I can prove this fact, besides the animation you see here on screen. In the game files, if you were to look into the game's code, for Scythe, the wand itself can be viewed on its own, not attached to Scythe. And then the wand, as you see right here, right next to my face, it says 254 CMP EX11 SWD. All the Curse Wave characters, they have the letter X and then a number. Scythe is X11, and this is X22 or something like that. But the numbers increase based off the Curse Wave character. And then, like I said, if you just view the wand by itself, it says SWD for sword. This is in the Japanese version, as you see here on screen. It's also in the North American version, where it's the number changed to 66, EX11 sword. So without a doubt, I pretty much would say Scythe's wand is not a wand. That it's actually always has been a sword. That wasn't the only time that they censored the cross. Summons in Dothack, there are, I believe, 6 or 8 of them. When you use magic, the element itself has a summon associated with it. You usually see them as stone statues at the end of a dungeon called the God statues in the R1 era. So we have here Rhynic, Now, Reineck has a holy cross stabbed through his chest, and it kind of looks exactly like Skeith's wand. But also, in the North American version, we have that censored as well, back to the Q shape that Scythe has as well. But it doesn't stop there. It was also censored in the anime OVA Dothack Liminality that is included with the video games. Here is a scene when Mai is trying to find the source of the sound that we all know and love. Here we have Skeith using Sora's body holding the staff. At the same time, in the US, that staff was also censored again. Now, in the anime, as you saw for Dothack's sign, I believe in all regions it's a Q, it's not a cross. So that may have been a decision on behalf of either B-Train or Bandai Visual. I'm not sure who made that choice, but I can tell you that it was also censored in the anime. What do you think? When we're talking about Scythe, whether his sword or staff became a Scythe in the R2 series. I don't understand why they decided to go that route. I mean, obviously Haseo, being the type of character he is, wielding a scythe in this flick wicked form, maybe that's where the inspiration came from, why they ditched the sword and staff. But overall, whether it's a cross or a censored Q, Skeith is pretty much an iconic character throughout the entire Dothack series. And that's pretty much all I have today. Dothack has amazing characters, and maybe someday we'll discuss the remaining of the Curse Wave. For now, that's all I have for you. Thank you for watching.